You don't wake up to an alarm. Instead, you're roused by the hoarse shout of the overseer. Dust clogs your throat and limestone scrapes your lungs. 23 people are packed into the barracks, as tight as sardines. The sun hasn't risen yet, but the heat is already oppressive. 20 minutes until breakfast. 6 hours until lunch. 6 hours of hauling stones, each weighing as much as your car. Your lower back burns, spondylolysis. Your vertebrae grinding away. Your heels are cracked, the sun having scorched your skin raw. Your mouth is dry, even though you drank sour beer last night. Your knees tremble from hypoglycemia. No sugar, no strength. You stand up, and you feel it. Your urine is pink, blood. A parasite in the Nile's water. Its larvae having entered your body. They're already in your kidneys, already multiplying. You're not sick, you're already dead. You just haven't fallen yet. The pyramid builders weren't slaves. They were peasants, conscripted for public service. They received bread, beer, and even a physician for broken bones. Yet their average age of death was 33. Why? Because the system didn't kill with whips, it killed with calculation. You are a resource, like a rope, like wood, like stone. Your name will be erased, your bones buried without inscription. 70% of skeletons are twisted, broken, worn out. You wouldn't have survived even if you ran marathons, even if you ate organic superfoods. Your body would break in 5 days. Water from the Nile isn't salvation, it's poison. Schistosome larvae don't die even in boiling water. They penetrate the skin, live in the bladder, causing blood, fever, and kidney failure. Your diet? Bread and beer, 3% alcohol. No meat, no fats, no vitamins. Your muscles waste away. Your immune system collapses. Every block you lift, 25 kilograms, causes microscopic damage to your spine. Within a week, chronic pain. Within a month, disability. Within 2, a grave in the sand. The Marrera papyrus praises the logistics, stones delivered on time, canals dug precisely. But not a word about those who fell dead into them. The pharaoh needs immortality. You need to survive until evening. Imagine, these are your hands on the rope. This is your stomach cramping from hunger. This is your urine, pink. You are already dead, but the rope is still being pulled. The Nile's flood has begun. The water, carrying silt and life, has inundated your fields. Your harvest is washed away. Your family is without food. But for the pharaoh, it's a signal, time to build. You head to the camp with 100 other peasants like you. Your eyes gleam, for here they pay, with bread, beer, and eternity. You don't yet know that rest means 4 hours of sleep on stones, in mud, mixed with the excrement of hundreds of men. Rations are distributed according to a list. If you're late, you starve. You walk towards the pyramid, your head spinning. In your jar, murky liquid. Schistosome larvae swim invisibly. You drink because thirst is stronger than fear. Why is everything so precise? The teams, the schedules, the scribes, while you're already gasping for breath? Because the system isn't for you. It's for the stone, for time, for a god. The Marrera papyrus doesn't lie. 200 men in a team. 4 loaves of bread, 4 jars of beer. 30 blocks per shift. Construction takes 3 months a year, while the Nile is flooded. The state calculated everything, accounted for everything. Except one thing. If you fall, you are crossed off. No treatment, no food, no burial. Simply erased from the list. In the archives, there is no word for sick. There is lost workday. A number. A line. No emotions. Imagine, you're lying on the ground. Your back won't bend. Your legs won't obey. Above you, a scribe. He doesn't call a healer. He makes a note. Lost workday 1. In reports, there are dozens of such entries daily. Death isn't a tragedy. It's accounting. The system isn't evil. It's rational. People die and it's factored into the budget. 70% of workers' skeletons show signs of chronic spinal stress. You wouldn't have survived, even if you slept 8 hours, even if you drank clean water. The system works, flawlessly, mercilessly. But it's not for you. It's for the pharaoh, for history, for eternity. And you're already losing strength. Not from the heat, not from hunger, but from every sip of water from the Nile. In it, an invisible killer. It penetrates through the skin, lives in the bladder, causes blood, fever, kidney failure. You don't know its name, but soon you'll feel it. Your urine will turn pink. Your thirst will be unquenchable. Your body, alien. And then you'll understand, the next enemy isn't the overseer. It's within you. And it doesn't forgive. You wake up at night, not from shouts or cold, but from a burning pulsation in your lower abdomen, as if someone is sharpening a knife inside you. You go to the communal pit, where there's stench, flies, and shadows of bent backs. You squat down and see. Your urine isn't yellow, it's crimson, with threads like a web of blood. Your heart stops. But the old man next to you doesn't even look up from his bowl. He rasps. This is the Nile. It gives life, and it takes it away. You drink only what's given. Murky liquid from a clay jar. Slightly sour. Smelling of fermentation. It seems like salvation. But every sip is like a needle in your vein. Your strength drains away. Your legs are like cotton. Your thoughts are smoke. You're not sick. You're slowly disappearing. And no one can help, because no one knows. Inside you is a worm. Invisible. Eyeless. Immortal in the system. Schistosoma hematobium. A flat parasite, thinner than a thread. Its larvae live in the Nile's water. They penetrate through the skin, even if you just drink. Even boiling doesn't kill the eggs. They travel through the blood, settle in the bladder, grow into the walls, like roots into a brick crack, cause inflammation, scarring, bleeding. Blood in the urine is just a greeting. Then, fever, weakness, anemia, kidney failure, death. In our time, one pill. In ancient Egypt, a death sentence, mass, unappealable. Bone analyses from Giza indicate that 70% of workers carried traces of this parasite in their bodies. It wasn't a disease, it was the norm. Almost everyone who drank the water was infected. And the system knew. But it couldn't change. There was no alternative. Without water, death in hours. With water, death in months. No choice, only speed. And the system chose slow death. Because the sick can still pull the rope. The dead cannot. You aren't sick, you're dying, and even if you avoided the parasite, you'd be finished by what they put in your hands for breakfast. Bread, stale, with sand. Beer, sour. Non-alcoholic, no meat, no vegetables, no vitamin C, no vitamin D, no protein. You eat, and still you starve, because your body starts to consume itself. Muscles are first on the list. Then immunity. Then reason. Imagine, this is your stomach cramping. These are your hands trembling from weakness. This is your urine, pink. You wouldn't have survived, even if you knew the truth, even if you ran. The system doesn't let you leave. It only allows you to die slower. You're given your morning portion, a loaf of black bread, so hard it could break stones, and a clay bowl of murky, sour beer, with grain remnants floating in it. You eat ravenously, almost desperately. But an hour later, there's emptiness. Not in your stomach, but in your bones. Your teeth ache. The sand in the bread has worn away your enamel down to your gums. Your gums bleed. You're losing weight, even though you eat every day. Your hands tremble when you pull the rope. Standing is difficult. You're not hungry. But your body is breaking down from within, because this diet contains nothing to sustain life under the strain of a weightlifter. Bread and beer were the staples. But the bread was baked from coarse flour with sand, not out of greed, but due to technology. The millstones wore down, and stone dust mixed with the flour. Every bite was like sandpaper on your teeth. Archaeologists find skulls with teeth worn down to the roots. The beer? Thick, sour, non-alcoholic. It was brewed from sprouted grain, like porridge that hadn't been cooked. It was drunk instead of water. Fermentation killed some bacteria, but it contained zero protein, zero fat, zero vitamins, only carbohydrates, and sand. Your body, exhausted from 6 hours of hauling stones, begins to consume itself. First your muscles, then your immune system, then your mind. You eat 3 times a day, yet you're chronically malnourished. Because food isn't about quantity, it's about quality. And the ancient Egyptians didn't know what vitamin C or D was. Here's the sickening irony. A modern prisoner gets more protein than a pyramid builder. They get meat, vegetables, vitamins. You get bread with sand and sour sludge. And this was called the best diet. After all, you were participating in a sacred endeavor. But holiness doesn't warm bones. It doesn't heal gums. It doesn't stop trembling hands. A shocking calculation. With such exertion, your diet provides 40% less energy than needed. It's like forcing a laptop to run on 10% battery and demanding it mine cryptocurrency. It will simply burn out. You're not hungry. You're internally depleted. And even if the water were clean, even if the parasites weren't burning your kidneys, your body still wouldn't have withstood the construction. Because every day, you lift a weight equal to your own. 25 kilograms isn't a block. It's a death sentence. Every jerk is a micro-trauma to your spine. Every step is a strain on your knees, devoid of lubricating fat. Within a week, creaking joints. Within 2, pain like an electric shock. Within a month, you're not a person. You're a rope with bones. And the system knows. As long as you're trembling but pulling, you're useful. The moment you fall, you're crossed off. Not out of malice, out of calculation. You wouldn't have survived. Even if you slept on a mattress. Even if you knew the food was a trap. Imagine. These are your teeth wearing down to your gums. These are your hands trembling from emptiness. This is your spine cracking under the weight of eternity. And the pharaoh needs immortality. You need just 1 day without pain. But his eternity is built on your slow death. And there's no tragedy in this. Only accounting. You pull the rope for the 8th hour straight. The stone slides along the clay road, moistened by muddy water. Suddenly, a sharp crack. The papyrus rope snaps like a rotten thread. The 1-ton block rolls backward. You're too slow. Its sharp edge slices into your foot, to the bone. Pain. Blinding. Like a searing iron. You fall. You scream. Above you, backs. No one stops. The work continues. They drag you into the mud, throw you a rag. If you can, work tomorrow. You look, a white bone protrudes through your skin. Blood mixes with dust. Even if you don't die from shock, infection will finish you in 5 days. There are no antiseptics, no concept of bacteria, only fever, putrefaction, silence. The builders moved blocks weighing 2, 3, 5 tons. Without wheels, without steel, without cranes. Only wood, rope, flesh. Even light blocks, 25 kilograms, were lifted 100 times per shift. Your vertebrae wore down like river stones. Spondylolysis, the destruction of spinal bones, became the norm. Joints creaked, ligaments were frayed threads. And yes, scribes recorded fractures. Yes, healers set bones. But infection after injury killed every second person. Because a wound is a door, and in it, death in the form of invisible killers. Imagine, this is your leg. This is your bone exposed to the air. This is your last chance for bread. You wouldn't have survived. Paleopathologists uncovered graves near Giza. 70% of the skeletons were twisted, broken, worn out. Not accidents, not occupational hazards. This was the price. Everyone who took up the rope knew their body would break. Sooner or later. The system didn't heal. It replaced. Dropped out of line. Crossed off the list. No pension. No mercy. Only an accounting line. Lost workday. 1. You're not tired. You're ruined. And even if the water were clean, even if the bread contained protein, even if the parasites weren't burning your kidneys, you still wouldn't have survived. Because the ground beneath you is poisonous. There are no toilets. Only communal pits, overflowing with excrement. Mud, urine, pus, all mixed in puddles near the barracks. Every scratch is an entry point for death. Every breath is a risk. In this camp, they aren't building a pyramid. They're cultivating an epidemic. Look at your hands. Imagine them trembling with pain. Imagine your foot rotting in the dust. Imagine your back turning into ruins. You wouldn't have survived. Even if you were stronger, smarter, more resilient. The system doesn't demand a hero. It demands a consumable. And you're already consumed. You lie on your side. Inside your belly, a serpent coiled into a knot of pain. The air is thick, sweetish, rotten. It's not the smell of the camp. It's the smell of your intestines, tearing themselves apart. From within. Beside you, someone stumbles toward the edge of the barracks. There, only mud. Black, sticky. In it, excrement, urine, pus, bread scraps. You know if you stand, you'll fall. If you fall, they won't pick you up. During the Nile's flood season, dysentery isn't a disease. It's the law. 65% of skeletons at Giza show traces of chronic intestinal inflammation. Their bellies didn't just ache. They rotted alive. There's no sanitation, no pits, no ditches. You relieve yourself right by the wall. Then the rain, or the flood. The water rises, mixes everything. The mud becomes a soup of bacteria. Shigella, Salmonella, E. coli. You drink it. You cook bread in it. You wash your hands. Archaeologists find fecal bacteria in jars, in bowls, in teeth. The cycle is closed. You drink your own despair, and it kills you. Imagine a scratch on your leg, small, like from a straw. Today, a reason to wash it. There, a death sentence. In this mud, millions of killers. An infected scratch turns into pus, into sepsis, into a black streak up your leg. In 3 days, fever. In 5, you stop breathing. Paleopathologists see on bones, abscesses, purulent ulcers. Up to 40% died from such trifles. No antibiotics. Only fat and prayers. You don't die from hardship. You die from a speck of dust. You wouldn't have survived. Even if you didn't drink the water. Even if you didn't eat the bread. Even if you didn't haul stones. Just standing is deadly. The air here is poison. The earth is an incubator. Every breath is a risk. Every step is a lottery. You're not in a camp. You're in a trap. Closed. With no way out. And here's the paradox. They didn't flee. Not because they were afraid, but because they believed. That pain wasn't futility. That suffering was sacrifice. And sacrifice was a ticket to eternity. This faith sustained them longer than food, longer than water, longer than flesh, death, but not defeat. He lies on his back. The stars over Giza don't twinkle. They watch. His breath is a thin thread, snapping. The pain in his stomach burns like coals in a clay pot. But he doesn't groan. He whispers. The names of gods. Words woven into every morning since childhood. He doesn't ask for healing. He asks for meaning. And in this whisper, his last support. Not muscles. Not will. Faith. If his labor is part of a divine plan, then even death is not without dignity. His pulse slows. The rhythm of his prayer does not. He departs, still believing. His name will be remembered by the heavens. Religion in ancient Egypt wasn't just faith. It was a survival system. Building a pyramid wasn't hard labor. It was sacred service. The pharaoh was a god on earth. His tomb was a bridge to eternity. And everyone who pulled a rope contributed to the cosmic order, Mayat. This idea provided what neither bread nor beer could, meaning. In conditions where the body deteriorated faster than it could recover, meaning became the only painkiller. The scribes of Merera wrote, the workers called themselves servants of the pharaoh, not slaves, not captives, participants in a divine project. It wasn't the strongest who survived, not the fastest, but those who happened to have immunity to the parasite in the Nile's water that caused blood in the urine, and those whose faith was so deep that it allowed them to endure rotting feet, empty bones, and thirst without water. This isn't evolution, it's a lottery. One drinks the same murky liquid and lives. Another dies in a week from kidney failure. One breaks their back and continues to pray. Another loses hope and fades like a candle. Survival didn't depend on your efforts, but on biological chance and spiritual resilience. And in this lies the cruel truth. You controlled nothing, not even your own death. You're not building a pyramid, you're serving a god. And in this service lies your life, your death, your eternity. But what if you weren't forced? What if you came voluntarily and still died as expendable material? This isn't a paradox, it's a tragedy. And it unfolds only when we stop seeing these people as shadows and start seeing their faces, exhausted, but with eyes full of faith. Imagine, this is your last breath. You don't think of bread, not of pain. You whisper the name of God, and in that whisper, your victory. You wouldn't have survived, but you wouldn't have lost. Because faith is an invisible antiseptic. It doesn't heal wounds, but it doesn't let them consume the soul. Death, but not defeat. The scribe sits at a low table. His pen glides across the papyrus. The sun sets. He's not in a hurry. Northern Brigade died in the 3rd hour. Cause weakness in the stomach. No name, just a number, just a line. His ink, soot and Nile water. The very water that kills those he erases from the list. He's not a villain. He's an accountant. And in his reports, death isn't a tragedy. It's an expense. 3 deaths a day, every day, for 20 years. You wouldn't have survived, even if you came voluntarily. Until 1990, the world believed slaves built the pyramids. Then archaeologists excavated a necropolis near Giza. They found burials with bread, beer, inscriptions. Son of the king, friend of the pharaoh. These were peasants, free, called to service. They were fed. They were buried with rituals. But their bones were broken, twisted, eaten away by parasites. The average age of death was 33. Freedom didn't save them from dysentery. Not from sand in their teeth. Not from pink urine. You are free, but you are expendable. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, 20 years of construction, 20,000 people, 3 deaths a day, not by whip, not by sword, from a broken leg, from a rotting scratch, from thirst, quenched by poison. Mortality rates like a city under siege, but without an enemy. Only the system, only labor, only grandeur. And no one considered it a loss, just a shortage in the brigade. You wouldn't have survived, even if you believed in God. Archaeologists find traces of spondylolysis on the bones, vertebrae worn to splinters. But nearby, amulets. The eye of Horus, figures of Osiris. They died as expendable material, but they were buried as participants in a sacred endeavor. Here's the paradox. You weren't coerced. You came yourself, for bread, for beer, for eternity. and still became a number in the scribe's report. Death, but not defeat. Or defeat disguised as an achievement? Imagine, this is your name being erased from the list. Not because you're an enemy, but because you stopped pulling the rope. You are free. But your life is in the budget. And the system doesn't lie. It just doesn't see you. You wouldn't have survived, even if you knew the truth from the beginning. Because truth isn't salvation. It's the last sip of water from the Nile. And in it, still larvae. Take it all in one gulp. Bread without protein. Beer instead of water. Parasites in every sip. Untreated injuries. Waste underfoot. Faith. Like the last piece of bread. This isn't labor. It's a system of accelerated human attrition. You wouldn't have survived, even if you ran marathons and ate quinoa. Why? Because your body is accustomed to the basics. Clean water, a toilet, vitamins. And there, none of those basics existed. There, the basic was pink urine and back pain. There, it wasn't the strong who survived, but those whose immunity accidentally matched the poison in the river. And who believed their suffering was not in vain. He was 32 years old. He arrived here in spring, when the Nile began to rise. He lifted hundreds of blocks, survived dysentery, a broken rib, fever. But at the end of the third season, his body gave out. He died quietly, in a tent, with the name of God on his lips, buried in a common grave, nameless, without inscription. 45 centuries later, archaeologists found his bones, his spine worn to splinters, his kidneys scarred by the parasite. But in his chest, emptiness. A heart that believed in eternity once beat there. His name is forgotten. His sacrifice is not. We build skyscrapers with steel. They built eternity, with bones. We are proud of Wi-Fi and antibiotics. They believed in Osiris and Maat. We call them primitive. But who among us would have endured their reality? Who would have given their life for an idea? Without pay, without glory, without memory, civilization isn't what we create. It's what we're willing to lose for it. And greatness always comes at a high price. It's just that back then, it wasn't paid with money, but with lives. Imagine, you wake up in the barracks, dust in your throat, pain in your lower back, your urine, pink. Before you, a rope, a block, another day. No ambulance, no escape, just you, your body, and the belief that it all means something. Now, the question, would you choose greatness or life? Because those who built the pyramids already chose, and their choice still stands under the Giza sun, silent, immense, undeniable. Could you last a week building a pyramid? Without clean water, without meat, without a break, yes or no? Write in the comments, and think, what's more important to you, to be remembered in history, or just to live until evening? You wouldn't have survived, but you would have tried, and that's all the difference.